Thank you. Matilda Moralong, maybe you could put your camera off. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present a brief summary of the NACCW impact on the field of child and youth care work. Just before I go on to my presentation, I want to say that this input is about our history. But more importantly, it's about the impact of our history and the impact of the NACCW in the development of the profession of child and youth care work in South Africa. And it's important to remember every single one of us who are members or professional staff members of the NACCW, that we have achieved this together. And we have achieved a lot together over the 49 years that we've actually struggled for child and youth care to be a recognized profession, deeply respected and servicing children in our country. Thank you, Randy. Next slide. Just to say that the professional journey of child and youth care in South Africa was documented by Bukes and Gannon in 1996. We know that there's a resolution from the past conference asking for a history book of child and youth care worker to be written. And that history is something that I think is something we need to give full attention to now as we move forward. Just to say that the racially fragmented residential child and youth care field in apartheid South Africa was a crucible for the South African child and youth care workers' long walk to professionalization. We got together in very difficult times as child and youth care workers, historically united for children, for all children in our country. Since the formation of the NACCW, a politically defiant and racially integrated professional association in 1975, the child and youth care profession has developed, grown, and contributed to advancing the professionalization of South African child and youth care sector in several ways. I'm going to share those ways with you, but I just want to say at that time when we gathered together, it was a time when in the different children's homes, there were different spaces allocated in residential care for beds in children's homes. White children in white children's homes were afforded more space for their beds than Indians, coloreds, and Africans. Thank God we've moved away from that in our transformation, and we don't even use these terms again. But they are important to understand that that is where we come from, and at that point united around those kinds of issues for justice for children in South Africa. The next slide. Next slide, Randy. Okay. So benchmarking of the child and youth care profession was important. And we did this through the development of a child and youth care journal 40 years ago. Our first child and youth care journal was developed, and we continue with that way of disseminating professional information today. The development of the first formal training program in residential care at the University of Cape Town with the first 195 initial students, showing again that we believed in education as critical to the development of child and youth care workers. The holding of regular biannual conferences since the first NACCW conference in Cape Town in 1975. So we started our biannual conferences as a way of gathering people around the country together so that we can talk about our practice and we could talk about our professional desire for recognition in South Africa. The creation of an online journal, the CYC Net. I think it's important for everybody to realize that it started here with the NACCW in South Africa. This is an international CYC Net journal accessed by people around the world, but its origins and its impetus came here from South Africa and from the NACCW. And of course, a benchmark of a professional association is its affiliations to other international child and youth care associations, and we know one of our strongest partners that we joined and remained steadfast with since the 1990s is FITSE, the International Federation of Educative Communities. The next slide. Next slide, Randy. Okay, I think the journey of training and development requires attention because this was at that time a core focus of our work. The initiation of the course on residential childcare, which was to be run in partnership with the University of Cape Town, was initiated in 1977. Then, of course, the training of the first basic qualification in childcare, the BQCC, that actually flooded the development of child and youth care workers in our country. Most of you sitting around here would say that we know about the BQCC, or we've done that course, which actually transformed my childcare practice. I do think we have to have people mute, please. I'm not too sure who it is that is not muted, but we can hear you as I speak. Randy, maybe you can assist. So the training of the basic qualification in childcare started in 1988. It started with 71 child and youth care workers from 18 different child and youth care organizations and grew from strength to strength thereafter. The establishment of the tertiary qualification in child and youth care through the University of South Africa, through UNISA, was also established as a way of moving our training into formal institutions. And we're grateful for the role that UNISA played in those early days in supporting us. Can I have the next slide? We responded to the Department of Education's mandate for accredited training in South Africa in the 90s, and that allowed us to develop the further education and training certificate. Many of you might have benefited from the FET Certificate 4, and others now are doing the FET Certificate 5. And this is where NACCW played a critical role in leading and developing that training. The initiation
Zeni, we are not hearing you, so you need to just hang on a second. Somebody made an effort to mute whoever was speaking, and seems to have muted you too. We're just trying. Hello, can you speak?
That's better. I think
right,
I'm unmuted now. Yes.
Yes, so, continue.
All right. So I just want to start again with the slide to say that, we responded to the Department of Education's mandate for accredited training in South Africa in the 90s. We were very excited to lead in the development of material for the FET, the Further Education and Training Certificate in Childcare. We developed the FET Certificate 4 and now are contributing to training linked to the FET Certificate 5. And many of you child and youth care workers have been trained in that and are accredited trained auxiliary child and youth care workers. The initiation of the standards generating body for the SGB for child and youth care allowed us the opportunity to set the standards for training, to see that child and youth care's unique scope of practice was well trained. So child and youth care workers as a unique children-focused profession in South Africa could be demonstrated through the training. And we're happy to say that the 4-year degree in child and youth care through University of South Africa was a very positive initiative. Unfortunately, we were very sad that that ended, but grateful that the development of the 4-year degree with the Durban University of Technology in 1999 did take place and is alive and functioning, and many of our child and youth care workers have got the child and youth care degree. We also advocated for the transition of the child and youth care development degree at Monash University to become a child and youth care degree. So we're very grateful for that opportunity. The next slide, Randy. In terms of the professionalization of the child and youth care field, some of the work that we did together as the NACCW was commitment to a shadow registration process in 1992. What that meant is that we developed our own code of ethics. We made sure that everybody who qualified with the BQCC had the opportunity to commit themselves to a code of ethics. Those codes of ethics were presented to the new professional board and then have been incorporated into the code of ethics that is now part of our statutory requirement. But NACCW promoted professionalism a long time ago. The full participation of the NACCW in the transformation of the child and youth care system in South Africa through the Interministerial Committee on Youth at Risk allowed us to get political attention to the work we're doing. We were able to demonstrate that we did not believe and advocate for children in prisons, saying that they should be in secure care centers. We were actively contributing to secure care centers as a concept being developed in South Africa. We piloted the family preservation program demonstrating the role of child and youth care workers in communities and with families. We were part of the professional foster care pilot showing how could we provide foster care services to difficult children in communities. And there were a range of pilots that happened in that time, including the piloting of the developmental assessment, which is now something we all do in terms of our work, in terms of assessing children, the developmental assessment training. So we had a full participation in that process. And of course, the ongoing participation in policy and legislative reform in the 90s. Just to say that when the Children's Act was being consulted around the country, I remember Dr. Mabeta, who was then DG of Department of Social Development, saying everywhere we went, we found childcare workers and children speaking up, identifying that they need to be recognized in the Children's Act, identifying the work that they're doing, and putting children's issues out there for inclusion in the Act. The parliamentarians went away saying, who are these child and youth care workers? What is this vibrant, vital group of people that are actually wanting to be part of servicing the Children's Act and children in our country? And that advocacy for inclusion and recognition of childcare workers in the Children's Act, in the Child Justice Act, and we advocated in the amendment of the Social Work Act to the South African Council for Social Service Professions, creating the opportunity for inclusion of child and youth care workers in professional services. The establishment of the first statutory professional board for child and youth care work in 2005 under the auspices of the South African Council for Social Service Professions was as a result of a submission that was presented by the NACCW to the council and to the Department of Social Development, saying we are here. There was many discussions, many debates, many efforts to prove that our scope of practice was unique to social work, many discussions with the Professional Association of Social Work. And the effort and the process was long, but it is something that I think we can be very proud to say that we have achieved. And just to say that the latest figures are that more than 9,000 child and youth care workers are registered with the South African Council for Social Service Professions as we speak. Child and youth care workers are now reflected as well in South African legislative framework. We're happy that we are in so many pieces of legislation and guideline documents and protocol documents, but we do believe there's opportunity for greater integration of child and youth care work in the policy framework. Next slide. So model development, demonstrating the role of child and youth care workers in different settings. I think pivotal in the South African journey of child and youth care development was a conceptualization and the piloting of the Izibindi model in 2001 and the ministerial mandate to upscale the model in 2013. This resulted in the training and development of over 8,000 child and youth care workers from mainly rural, historical, disadvantaged communities in South Africa in 5 years. This project ended in 2017. The Department of Social Development has absorbed the Izibindi program. And what we are very proud about is that the model introduced child and youth care work in South Africa in a new setting of family and community work, functioning at an early intervention and prevention level in supporting the mandate of the Children's Act. We're very excited that the Izibindi Izikoleni model, developed in 2017, at the time when we handed over the Izibindi program to the department, is demonstrating the role of child and youth care workers in school settings in partnership with the Department of Basic Education. We are functioning actively in schools around the country, and we're active in 5 different provinces already, and with a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Basic Education. Next slide. Professional associations play a critical role in the development of a profession. NACCW has played its role. History has demonstrated the indispensable role of the NACCW in the development of the profession of child and youth care work in South Africa. And the expansion of the profession of child and youth care to other African countries is confirmed by the existence of the Zambian Association of Child Care Workers, the Kenyan Association of Child Care Workers, the Lesotho Association of Child Care Workers, and a network of other African countries on initial journeys of professional development. Is through the commitment of NACCW. We meet regularly with other African countries, talk about our practices, and share everything we've learned in our journey with them, so that we can actually reach out to our other children in Africa. The last slide is just an interesting observation. We've been grateful that the international field has seen the value of child and youth care work. We are repeatedly given opportunities to speak at international forums, even one for the Global Social Service Workforce Alliance at the end of this month, showing how we've developed our profession in South Africa, showcasing the Izibindi model. Guatemala, for example, is in the process of replicating the Izibindi model in Guatemala. Our Safe Park model has had the opportunity to be replicated in Lebanon and stands with FITSE as a special international Safe Park model that they have endorsed. Garabaji in 2008 points out that the NACCW stands apart from other professional associations around the world in that it shapes the agenda, it drives the national development, and has become locally, nationally, and increasingly internationally a force to be reckoned with. I thank you.